was, am I living it? Do I live in it? So astounding. Love is an ocean, you can drown me. The sweet embrace, the lovely taste, I taste and see. I'm under grace, the place to be.
Paul Milligan. Chris Bernard, who is the business school coordinator. Our director of media school, Stephen Bransford. Carrie Pickett, our director of global training school. And Dr. Delron Shirley, our director of mission school. So as some of you know, you've been taking part in your lunch and learns, which, have you been enjoying those? Yeah. That's fantastic. That's for our students, viewers, to come in and try and experience our third year schools so they can really see what God is calling them to do. And we've got some more upcoming events for our on-campus students. And we will be taking applications for third year on our third year experience day, which is open to all our students. Also, if you happen to be a student and you can get here from an extension school, March the 20th, make that a date, come out, have a little extended spring break maybe, and come and experience these third year schools, because I know it wasn't until I got to third year that my ears were open. And it really transformed my life third year. So I would encourage you to come to that. And that's March the 20th, so you can experience third year experience that day. And all our third year students will get a free copy of Andrew's Proverbs book, which is absolutely awesome, because Andrew teaches this in third year. And who knows, we need supernatural wisdom. Amen? So you will get a copy of Proverbs to take you through your third year with whatever track you are doing. So we're going to start with Pastor Greg Moore, who is my boss and the director of ministry school, and he's just going to share what's on his heart about ministry school.
Hey, good morning, guys. So how many of you know that Charis Bible College is a 3-year Bible college? So, you know, if God called you to Charis, you'd have to get a word from God not to come to third year.
Amen.
And I mean, the third year is a cherry on top. It's basically it's first and second year on steroids, and our desire is to help you fulfill the call that God has put in your heart. Amen. But I'm the director of ministry school. And so I'd like all of you to come to ministry school, who are called to be there. But let me just share a little bit about who is ministry school designed for. First of all, if you desire to grow and develop in your ability to hear from God accurately and to draw revelation from the Word, then ministry school is for you. If you desire to teach the Word with confidence and authority, ministry school is for you. if you desire to learn to operate in the gifts of the Spirit, in confidence, and accuracy and power, a ministry school is for you. If God's called you to full-time ministry, whether it's to be a pastor, a teacher, an evangelist, a profitable prophet, a children's minister, youth minister, etc., ministry school is most certainly for you. And if God's called you to helps ministry or to a staff position in a ministry or a church, ministry school is for you. And if you're called to plant a church, and one of the number one needs there is in the world today is we need grace churches all over this world. And if you'll give God permission, He'll speak to you, because we've got Charis Bible studies crying out for pastors to take this message and proliferate it throughout the world. Ministry school is for you. If you want to learn how to build a team and develop an effective kingdom strategy that will turn your dream into reality, whatever that dream and vision is, ministry school is for you. I mean, the bottom line is that we've developed in ministry school a program that's staffed by very experienced ministers and ministries with a variety of different gifts and callings that have been proven, and you're going to be trained, hands-on training there, where each student can help identify and fulfill the vision and dream that God's placed in their hearts. It's a hands-on program that's very interactive, that allows us to get to know our students. We meet with you personally. We answer your questions. We give feedback on how when you're teaching. We give feedback on how to help you grow in your ministry training and your teaching development. And I just encourage you to talk with any of our third-year ministry school students this year. There's not one of them that'll tell you they regret coming. And also, you could talk to any number of our staff who are ministry school graduates. Brian and Sue, Nutman, Travis, Ellie, Rich, Rick, Jenny, Roger, Clay. I mean, you can just go down the line. I mean, we've got some amazing, amazing fruit that comes from ministry school, guys. And I'm really excited about the fruit that has come from this school, the pastors that have come out of this school. I mean, Janice and I travel and we go minister in the churches that just a couple of years before these students were in our class, and now they're pastoring wonderful churches, ladies' ministries, men's ministries, youth pastors, street evangelists, street ministries, associate pastors, profitable prophets, healing ministries, missionaries. All this has come from ministry school, and I'm excited to have the opportunity to spend this time either 1 year from now or 2 years from now if you're a first-year student in ministry school. Bottom line is God has a place for you in third year, and I believe you're going to hear from Him. And if ministry is on your heart, this is a great school for you.
Thank you, Greg. So, Carrie, would you like to explain what's happening with you and Dr. Delron?
All right, so we are combining forces and we're going to take over the world. That's what we're going to do. Yes. Okay, so I'm excited to share on global training. So this last year was our first year of the Global Training School, and it's been a fantastic year. But we're going to do something new this next year, and I'm really excited about it. Global training will still be in place, but we're also going to merge, and we're going to merge mission school into global training. So Dr. Delron is retiring from the mission school so that he can go on the mission field more often. And so he's got more invitations around the world than he can do. And so we're actually going to bring missions into global training, and Dr. Delron and Peggy are still going to be able to come in and share. But just real quick and he's going to share what some of the missions curriculum is going to involve. But we're going to have 2 tracks in global training. So global training is truly about how we were going to reach the world. So we're going to have our extension school track. So our extension school track is for those of you that feel called to partner up with Andrew Womack Ministries or Charis Bible College. It's a very specific track in the sense that you say, hey, I love this ministry, I love the message, I would really like to partner up with this ministry. And so what it tells you, what it teaches you is whether you want to be a director, a future director of an Andrew Womack Ministries or Charis Bible College within the United States or around the world, or a support member, say a staff, administrator, teacher. If you're saying, hey, I love this ministry and love to partner up with it, then we teach you very specific, the requirements and the training to be a part of this ministry and champion Andrew's vision. So we'll have very, very in-depth teaching as far as operations, the vision, your role, your gifts and callings, and how you would start a project. This is, for the extension school track, it is the first level of the qualification process. After you finish the extension school track and you want to continue and you say, yes, this totally confirmed, I am called, I want to help this ministry, I want to go out and start Bible schools or an Andrew Womack Ministries office, then you would do an internship that would be required for a year afterwards. It's going to be an amazing internship program. And so we already have students that are out there doing that. We have over 50 interns around the world right now across all the schools doing it, and so we're having tremendous fruit. So that's the extension school track. And then the mission school track, you will be doing a lot of core. There's a lot of core classes because we talk about how do you get into a nation, establish a work, how do you start a movement in a nation, not just start a project. And then Dr. Delron can share some of the missions teaching and training.
Let me just give just, am I not working? Okay. Let me give just a little bit of background. When I decided that I wanted to retire, not leaving the school, I'm still going to be very active in leading mission trips and teaching in the school, but I needed more free time because there are so many things around the world that God has put on my heart to do. But so when I made that decision, the only person that God would put in my heart as a replacement for me would be Carrie Pickett. And then all of a sudden, then we started the new global training program, and I said, there went my opportunity to retire because she already had another job. But fortunately, God has ways that are beyond our ways, and He saw a way that I didn't see, how that we could actually merge the schools together. So I believe that what we're doing is really part of God's divine plan of putting the two schools together. In the mission school, one of the main things that I tell people, say, you know, what's different from doing missions or doing ministry or one of the others? I say, well, the difference between being a minister and being a missionary is that when you're a pastor, you get the opportunity every Sunday to pass a bucket right in front of people while you're looking them eyeball to eyeball and raise your support for the ministry that you're doing. When you're doing missions, you may be on a totally another continent, but you still have to support yourself and support that ministry. And so one of the things that we do is to learn how to present our ministry without having to be personally present and in front of the people so that we can get the support and so we can continue the support so we can help the people who are supporting us to feel like they're really doing something to change the world. And so that's one of the areas. Another thing that is going to be significant in what we do in the mission school is that we spend a lot of time working with other organizations that are headquartered here in the Colorado Springs area. There are over 100 different global ministries that are located right here in Colorado Springs. And I always say that is a divine appointment that Charis was built right here. If Charis had been built anywhere else in the world, we would not have those resources at our doorstep. But we have the opportunity to take our students to different ministries and help them to get integrated, to understand what these other ministries are doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, and that broadens our vision for lots of things that we can do. Also gives us a lot of connections for support and for assistance when we actually get out on the mission field. And so with what Carrie is doing in the directorship program, that's going to be specifically focused for working with the Andrew Womack Ministry after you graduate. But we want to show you that there are other avenues that you can get involved in and to help you to understand how to best get down that road.
So what we're going to do is, the Lunch and Learn, I encourage you guys to take as many opportunities to go to all of these Lunch and Learn so you can ask very specific questions. With this missions track and the global training track together, we're going to do a lot, again, like I said, we're going to do a lot of core together. We have business things we'll be teaching you, ministry things, missions, obviously, but organizational, just management, how do you start and build a ministry. So this is going to be really good. We've got a number of guest ministers coming in that are going to be training with you. Then we'll have time where we split off where the mission school will do specific missions training for your own ministry. The difference between global training school as far as the extension track and mission school, let me just really clearly define this, is that those that are wanting to be directors, you will be in the track that says, hey, I want to work with Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College. Those that are wanting to do missions saying, I do feel called to the nations, but I'm wanting to build my own ministry. Say I'm wanting to work with drug rehab students, I'm wanting to do orphanage ministry. I really have a heart for another nation that Andrew is not established in and want to start something. So because there's so many dynamics, we're going to teach you guys core, and then we'll also do things separate. The mission school will also have some amazing next level training on the field opportunities that we're going to share with you. So you'll definitely want to come to the Lunch and Learn so you can ask about that. And we're looking forward to having you.
Thank you very much. That's exciting news, isn't it? Paul, would you like to share about your heart for business?
Sure. Good morning, Charis. Let me clear up, I think, a couple of myths that we tend to run into in the business school. Number one is that, in my opinion, I believe the word supports this, business is a calling. Back when I was growing up, and even when Greg was growing up, the church sort of separated itself from business, sort of tolerated businessmen in those days. It was looked at as not ministry. It was looked at as, well, these people have to do something, but it's really not ministry. They're just making a living, making money. And I want to make it very clear, business is a calling. And I believe that there is an army of people in the kingdom of God who've been called to business. Because we've not addressed that properly, most people don't know it. I mean, not many of us are called to be Andrew Womack. But there's a lot of us that are called to supply finances for the kingdom. And so that's one. And then the second, you remember when Jesus came, he started his ministry at 30 years old. He went out to choose his disciples. I thought if I'd have been there, I think I would have advised Jesus to go to the tabernacle to get his disciples. That's kind of where, that's where the church boys were. Well, go up there and talk to them. That's not what he did. He went to the marketplace. All of his disciples were in the marketplace. They were really uneducated in comparison to the people in the synagogue. And so my whole point is that Jesus knew that the world would be changed in the marketplace, not inside a building called a church. And so business people have a unique opportunity to do that. To own your own company is to control that environment. So one of the things I loved about building global was we just had church. I mean, there are people who come in and tell me, I can't tell the difference in this in a church. In the mornings you come in, people were praying. And you can do that if you're in control of something. That's one of the things I think business people really enjoy who are in the kingdom and Christians. So the other thing is the education you're going to get in business school, in my opinion, is everything you need to know to be very good in business, to be successful. We have spent a lot of time preparing the curriculum. I believe it matches an MBA. There's nothing left out that you would need to know. And there's many students come in, and I've heard them say this over and over. I don't really know what I'm doing here, but God told me to come. I understand that completely. That's exactly the way God would do it. How many of you understand that faith without works is dead? A lot of times we think, well, does God want me to go to business school? Going to business school is that action that activates your faith. And I've seen so many students. I guess the one thing that I really enjoy in business school is watch those students be transformed from, gee, I don't know, and this is really going to be tough, and to a very confident person who stands up and presents a full-blown business at the end of the year with confidence. And so don't worry about what you don't know. Business school is not for people who have an extensive business background. Business school, there are two other things I want to make really clear. One is that it's not just about owning a business. If you can own a business, that's great. But you can become so valuable to ministry, to pastors. And, you know, my training in business prepared me to be CEO of this ministry. So that's really the one thing that we spent more time in business school talking about is, look, guys, you can leave business school and go alongside a pastor and just, you make his day. Because pastors are not all that skilled usually in business, and I don't believe God intends for them to be. I believe it should be like Andrew and I am here, where I'm the business side and he's the ministry side. And so you people that are called to go to business school need to look at it that way, not just presenting, but not just owning a business. Although you will present a business, we're going to teach you how to create one. All the way through the year, you'll present a business idea about this time of the year, and then at the end of the year, you'll present your full-blown company. So it's a great education. I think you're really going to love it. Just trust God and come on. Let me tell you this, it can't hurt you. It really can't hurt you. We've never hurt anybody in business school. Maybe wanted to a couple of times, but we don't. So anyway, God bless you, and I've got 24 seconds.
Thank you, Paul. And Stephen, would you like to share your heart?
Wow, well, how many of you, while listening to these presentations, felt a bit of a stirring in your spirit? You're going that direction. How many of you will raise your hand and say, yeah, I've heard something that has my name on it, or the Lord is speaking to me about it? Let me see your hand. That's a good bunch of you. All of you are candidates for what we do in media school. Every one of the schools need to communicate. If you have a vision, if you have a calling, if you are starting a business, or if you've established a business and you want to go to another level, somehow, somewhere in that whole constellation of what you're doing, media has a role. Media is basically the way you communicate to your base or to the world or to your partners. And how well you do that will be a great deal of your success or failure. And so we have skills that we want to share with you in media school. And I have been greatly privileged to help Andrew for 20 years now. But believe me, media has grown way beyond me. Right now I have something in the neighborhood of 40 employees. And television the daily television program is just one aspect of what we're doing. And there's social media, there is the proliferation of messages through other media other than just television that support it. There's written word, there's emails that go out to our partners, very, very important emails. Some of them contain a video. Some of you may have received one. Anybody see the one on the trip to Africa?
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Oh, come on, who saw it?
Yep.
Did you
Fantastic.
like it? Yes. Let me hear.
Yes.
Thank you.
And then I shared it on Facebook.
You know, telling the story of the ministry is what we're about. You've got a story individually. It's better than you think. God wants to use your story, whether it's published or not. Your life is your story. You're living it. It's more important to live that story than it is to write it. But there comes a time when God calls you to write it. I can't tell you how many students and former students now are contacting me about writing books. And there's some wonderful books coming out. Not all of them are going to be published by major publishers. Guess what? The media world has made it so wonderful and accessible for you to self-publish, and you can self-publish very well and do better than going with a major publisher. There are reasons why you would choose to self-publish rather than seek and chase that distant star of being published by a major publisher. There are reasons for that, and believe me, they're all good, and they're all in your favor. Media school will bring all of the vision, all of the callings that God has placed in your heart, and focus it for a communication, an effective communication. And I really think that's the key. It's one thing to write your story, it's another thing to write it well. And it's another thing to realize you aren't qualified to write it well. Therefore, you need help. And those are the things that you can learn in media school. I would recommend a 4-year school here, and media school would be a requirement. Honestly, you're going nowhere without it, so think about it, all right? God has given me a great honor to be a helper. Media is a helps ministry. We aren't the front line. We're not that side of the camera, we're this side of the camera. But let me tell you how many wonderful people I've been able to work with over the years, being behind the camera, being number 2, not number 1. I just returned from Orlando in the Pro Bowl, working with James Brown, JB, CBS sports anchor. He's preparing to anchor the Super Bowl next week. This guy's a wonderful Christian brother. I was amazed to watch his discipline and learn from him. But I was able to rub shoulders with him because I'm a helper. Wow, pinched myself. Pinched myself. And in the room, yeah, thanks, she pinched me too. Maybe that means my time is 0. I think it does. I'm going too far. Well, be inspired about media school, and I hope I helped. All right, God bless you.
Yeah.
It was just...
So as you can hear, we have such awesome opportunities for you, and I really, really pray that you do the 3rd year. As I say, it completely transformed my life. One of the questions we have, which I can answer quickly, is the fact, do the 3rd year students have core classes together? And yes, you do, because I know what it's like. You've gone through 1st year, you've gone through 2nd year, you've got your best buddy, and now you're almost, you're going in different directions. But you come together because we have amazing core subjects, and those are our foundational ministry core subjects. And Andrew teaches Proverbs, so you get Andrew, so don't worry, you won't not get Andrew. You get Pastor Greg, you get Dwayne Sheriff is another one, and I think Bobby Andian.
Yeah, Barry is one.
And Barry.
And we'll be adding, I think, a couple of core courses also. We're going to have Carrie on team building and some other things.
So you get all your favorites together. What could be better? Okay? Right, so Greg and Carrie, this is sort of a question for you. What is the difference between ministry and global training school, and how different do they equip the students?
Again, going back to global training school, as far as the extension track, is specifically for those who are wanting to take Andrew's vision, message, and method out to the world. And so it's very specific of how we train you, how you do different things, how we start, when we start things. So it's very, very, a lot of training to the structure, where I would think that ministry school is going to be more on your vision and how that begins to unfold. So I would say that for global training, as far as one of the main differences. Although a number of the courses that ministry is doing, we have merged. So our school will sit in on ministries. Ministries even sat in on some of ours. So there's some things, again, that are core classes that kind of merge together.
Yeah, we do that with missions school also. Missions school sits in with ministry school on several courses. And so I would say the specific things are that if you're called to serve in an extension school, either as a director or somebody that would just serve in we've got 70 or 65 plus extension schools, then this will be the school for you. You're going to get some of the same training. If you're called to missions, then that would be the school for you. You're going to get some of the same training. In ministry school, it's ministry other than missions and extension schools. And we have teaching labs in there, which are IAGs on steroids. It's the Shark Tank without anybody cutting you off at the knees. We will help you. We'll tell you exactly. We have a plan that goes from A to Z about how to help develop your communication skill and ability. We've got ministry groups, as a business school has business groups. We've got ministry groups where we allow the students to share what's on their heart, and then the students vote for a ministry, the best ministry group, and this year we have 11 groups that are actually developing a strategic plan to birth their ministry.
One of the things I always say about Global Training School is that the aspect of with missions and with ministry, these are when you have a vision in your own heart that God has planted inside of you. You're starting to get passionate and you're wondering, now what do I do with this? And then we're going to teach you how to take that, whether on the mission field or in ministry. How do you take that and champion it? As far as the extension school track, this is going to teach you how do you champion another man's ministry. How do you champion Andrew's vision and Andrew's legacy?
Cool. So, Chris, I've got a question here from a student. Where are the internships done through business school? Should they all coordinate with Fortune 500 companies? Does Charis help establish this?
So we do not have internships at the moment. That was an idea that was championed by Karen Conrad, because we have so many different companies and ministries knocking on our door, needing business consulting, needing help. And so we've been working on trying to figure out how do we fit that need. But that would be beyond business school. That would be a fourth-year business school that some of you may have heard about. So we're not there yet, but the need is great and getting greater, and they're coming to our door. So we are trying to figure out how to do that, and how to do that with integrity, and how to do that with efficiency.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Stephen, what does media school offer job opportunities for the future?
Well, amazingly, the number one job opportunity is Andrew Womack Ministries and Charis Bible College. I look around and I see media school grads here, waving at one over there. I think they're probably
up in the sound booth.
In the sound booth, of course, and on cameras, but also in other departments. I'm finding a lot of our media school graduates are helping in various departments around here, and I'm going to need to get a list. In fact, I asked for it to be assembled this morning to let me know just how many of our grads are working in this ministry. We are basically a media ministry. The primary vehicle of this ministry has been television and media, radio, television, and the other media for communicating what God has placed in Andrew's heart and his vision. So we're around the world, folks. What's happening in this room is the tip of the iceberg. The communication of the ministry going around the world is having impacts multiples beyond what we see here. And it's because of media. So our students find themselves being relevant to many job opportunities, and I am amazed at how many people we're hiring. And I see these new job openings come up on my email every week or so, and realize, wow, we are growing. We are really an amazingly robust ministry with a lot of opportunity from media.
And I would add that we have 17 Andrew Womack Ministries offices around the world, and so if whenever they have a need for media, they first contact World Outreach and say, hey, is there anyone that has been trained with Andrew's heart and the skill set necessary to carry the message globally?
Yeah, let me add to that I'm in relationship with pastors. I get a lot of communication with pastors and churches worldwide, and one of the greatest needs that pastors and churches have, or a media minister who can come in and help them with their, not only their AV and things, but with live stream, social media, all kinds of things. It is a huge field, and this is a great place to train for that.
I might add to that too, that in the business school we have a lot of people that are associated with Andrew, partners and others who own businesses all over, and they will contact us for graduates out of our business school to work for them. There's a man in Idaho, I think is where he's from, and he sent me a whole list of job descriptions, and he said, I don't want anything but graduates of Charis Bible College. And I think there was like 12 or 14 job openings there. Correct me, Chris, if I get it wrong. But this happens to us all the time. I've had Kenneth Copeland Ministries contact me about that. And so there are opportunities out there. What I want to say is just trust God. It's okay today if you don't know. Amen. If you don't know, it's okay. I mean, we all don't know something. So it's okay, but when you come, I've watched God do this so many times and really illuminate for people what he's called them to do and which direction he wants them to go. But it's going to happen while you're in the way, not observing it. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing about business school is give God a chance to speak to you.
Yeah. And I'd just like to say, like I share with you students, you can have all the faith in the world, but unless you're going to put your obedience next to your faith and come in agreement together, God can't really move. So be obedient. Chris, I hear people talking about preparing a business plan. What is that?
So as was mentioned a little bit earlier, all of our business students are required to present an idea, whether it be a business idea or a ministry idea, to the business school. One of the reasons we want you to do that is we want you to go through the process of researching it and then presenting an idea. So we had 28 ideas presented. We selected 6. And the ideas that were selected were not necessarily the businesses that would walk out the door and be successful tomorrow. Some of the ideas we selected were the ones that were most challenging so that we could teach a process. And that's really the important thing of developing the business plan, is learning how to research, learning how to find the answers, learning how to identify the problems that you're solving and how to most effectively do that. And then put together a full business plan that would make sense that is submitted or presented to a panel at the end of the year.
I might add that you do that with a team. You're not doing that on your own. You have a team of minimum of 4 other people beside yourself. If you have a business idea that gets selected, you may choose not to be the CEO. Somebody else could CEO. So the whole point that Chris is making is our focus is not on is this thing going to be successful? It's what did we learn in the process. We've had business ideas that found out they were not viable, but we had them present a failed business idea so we could learn from it.
The one other thing that I wanted to mention right here is we had a young couple come through business school a few years ago who were ministers, and they went out and started a church. But in their process of trying to find a location to start out in, they found a huge need in the market for space. And so they developed a company called Space Together, where they now rent out their church to the tune of about 80% of their overheads is covered by somebody else using their building. But they're not just stopping there. They built an online platform so other churches could do the same thing. Other gymnasiums could do the same thing. Other commercial kitchens could do the same thing. And I think they're in their 3rd round of funding to become a major online platform. But they learned the process in business and were able to identify the opportunity and then develop it.
Yeah, let me add to that Chris and then Corey Steinke, who serve in business school, they actually come in to ministry school and help our ministry school students and ministry groups develop their strategic plan in learning that same process. There are a lot of similarities in business and in ministry, and so we work together with them, and it's a real blessing to see how these schools work together. I really appreciate Chris and Corey and Paul allowing that to happen.
You know, when we started the business school, I remember I was over here in the lodge with Andrew. It was one of those negative 20-degree weekends. And we were over here in the lodge, and he said to me, we were talking about starting the business school, and he said, there's one more thing I want to ask you to do. He said, I want you to cross-train over to the pastors some very basic fundamental business skills. Because, as many of you know, this is what almost took Andrew down. This is what in the 1990s when his board of directors told him to shut it down. So he doesn't want that to happen to his ministry school students. And so we do that. Billy and I both, we cross over and teach some financial management on a business level, some other things like that that'll really help you if you're going to be a pastor.
And I know Global Training sat in on, I think, already 4, maybe 5 of the business school courses this year. So, again, this is why, and you may be sitting there thinking, well, this is so confusing. Which one do I choose? What we're doing today is we're just presenting all the opportunities of how some of these things specifically merge together, but how there's other parts of our schools that are very laser focused. So we're presenting this to you so you can really hear from God and pray, because he knows exactly which school you're supposed to be in. And we're going to try to make sure you get cross-trained in some of these really important dynamics.
So, Delron and Carrie, is there opportunities for mission trips in 3rd year?
Well, of course. I mean, we're the mission school, right? So we're going to be doing missions. We are looking at doing some revamping of how that is going to be presented in the coming year as we are merging together with the school, with the Global Training School, because there's going to be a lot more curriculum, a lot more on-campus training that we are going to be able to add now that we have a sister school that we are working together with. And so it looks like that we may be looking at putting the actual mission experience after the school year, but those things are still kind of in the process of development.
Yeah, we have some really exciting partnership that's happened with one of our missions schools or missions agencies, and so we have some amazing training that we are getting established as far as some major places you can go around the world. Literally, you guys, when we were putting this together, I looked at Mike and I said, I want to go on this trip, because what we're going to make it where, I know in the past, some of the students were like, well, I'd love to go to mission school, but I just can't take 6 weeks during the school year to go, whether it was job, maybe you have kids, maybe you have a husband and wife that you really needed to do. So we're trying to actually facilitate where you could do it at the end of the school year. You would actually be able to take your mate with you, because if you're called to missions, you're not called to missions as one person, right? Like, love you, hun, see you in 2 years, okay? That's not how we do missions, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to teach you how to do it even as a couple, even if your husband or wife is not in mission school, as well as this missions opportunity would allow you to take your children. This is significant, okay? Because if you're called to missions, you're called as a family. And so we really want to make sure that we don't just throw you out there by yourself and you try to drag your family along. We really want to make this a unit calling. And so we have some tremendous things. And then even after you finish your successful missions training, you would then have an opportunity to come back into Charis and help lead our 2nd year missions trips, which is awesome. So that means that you as a missionary would be able to go to multiple nations on multiple trips as a missionary. So we'll discuss a lot of those details in the Lunch and Learn.
One of the things that is very significant about the mission school, our little slogan has always been turning theory into practice on the field. And that certainly is not going to go away even in the merger.
Yeah. Wonderful, thank you. And I obviously know from 3rd year ministry school, Greg, that we send the students to Mardi Gras for a few days to experience life down there, and that is that's not just fun, guys. That is an amazing mission ground. Believe me, my husband went and he said it was absolutely awesome. And our Clay Caldwell leads that for ministry school. So yes is the answer to that question. I've got a question here for all of you, actually. What school would best equip an international student and why?
Business.
Business. And why, Paul?
Well, you know, we have a lot of international students who are graduates of the business school. And the question I get asked a lot is, well, you know, you're teaching us this in the American economy and the American system. Does that translate overseas? The answer is yes. Right now, I mean, I could tell you of 2 or 3. We have one, a young lady in Kenya and a woman in Nigeria who are very successful. And Esther Doganyaro is from Nigeria, and I saw her when we were in Uganda in Kenya just about a year and a half ago. And she talked to me about how the principles and processes that she learned in business school have helped her become a success. I mean, she's a real success. She's no lightweight. And what was it, Beatrice was the girl that did in Kenya, I think her name? Yeah, and she went back and started a business doing farming in her village where her dad is the elder. And so they're having a great impact. Probably one of the best ones we had is Samuel. Y'all may have seen Samuel's testimony that Stephen's great media group did. And Samuel Ahumusa is from Uganda, and he's one of the best students we've ever had. Absolutely one of the best students we've ever had. And he went back to Uganda and started a farm, and I mean 100 acres, tractors, the whole thing. And we helped him get that funded, and we helped him get started, and he's going to be fantastic. So if you're an international student, don't let that scare you off, because you'll learn some things that you may not be able to use, but most of what you will learn are principles, processes, and systems that will make your business successful.
Media. Yeah, let me just say that when I first began traveling with Andrew, we went to Uganda, I think, the first time, and the church where we went had very, very primitive media capabilities, and they asked me to tutor them there and that sort of thing. And then our school began there, and it was quite the same. Let me just say, this time when I went, I didn't need to take any equipment. It's all changed. They are very sophisticated in television media over there. They blew us away. We had a 7,000 member crowd, and they were flying over us with a drone, shooting that whole event, and they had about 5 cameras around the field, and they were very, very sophisticated. And our students were involved in a lot of that from our Kampala students. So I see international media becoming more and more important, and I really think the social media side of it has been way ahead of the American side of it in terms of effectiveness worldwide, internationally.
We have a lot of international students in the Bible school that are planning on going back to their nations. And so one of the key things that, whether with missions or the extension school track, what we're trying to do is really teach them as they go back to their nations, how do they go back with a vision to change their nation, and how they can start really creating a beachhead and a movement within their own nation because they understand it and can speak the language better than any other missionary we could send out.
Yeah, ministry school. Absolutely. Isaac Watts is a graduate of ministry school, and he's gone back to India to help his dad. And they've planted 5 new churches in India, and he's a church planting guru, and he learned most of what of all of that here at ministry school. We've got so many testimonies, the principles you learn. And the examples that we bring in of ministries that are going out, traveling, teaching, whatever your ministry is, we're going to help you to fulfill it.
Yeah, and there's Grace Church is needed not only in this country, but all over the world. All over the world. Just a quick question, Stephen. Do you need any special equipment for media school?
Yes, we require that you have a MacBook Pro of a certain capability, because that's a professional tool that you don't want to be without. That's the tool that will unite you with my department and everyone else in the media school. And so we have you do that, and we also have you do something called the Creative Cloud. Premiere has developed the best softwares and applications for using this tool. And they're very accessible, they're very user-friendly, some a little more complicated than others, but that's what we teach in media school. That's one of the primary foundational things, and you'll need to have that equipment. I might also say we have a full studio now, We didn't when we began as a school, but it continues to grow, and we've had some significant donations from major partners to see that we could equip you better as we go along, and that's an ongoing, continuing thing. But you get your hands on some really professional equipment when you come to media school.
That's great. Well, look, guys, we haven't been able to get through all the questions that you answered, but you have these lunch and learn opportunities. And if you are available to come here on March the 20th to experience third year experience, I would really encourage you to do that. Part of that day will also be live streamed, so if you can't, you'll be able to watch it on our live stream. But it has been an honor to sit amongst these amazing directors this morning and just listen to their heart for you guys, because third year is just to take you to that next level. Amen? Well, we just thank you guys.